Hey, what's happening? Robert Phoenix here, coming at you live, a little bit late. Actually, probably a lot late. If you follow me on Facebook, you would know that I let you know that I was running behind tonight. I was out running some essential errands that I thought were probably more important than they actually were. But, I just had to get out a bit and experience something else than the worldwide headquarters of robertphoenix.com in the 11th house. What's happening, everybody? Let's see if we have some compadres assembling. There we go. We got Jennifer. Hello, Jennifer. There's Sally. Hey, Sally, long time. Stephen, Chris. And there's the wonderful JMP, Christine. Thank you for the compliment on the interview with Freeman. Yeah, it was really good, huh? It was kind of a soulful kind of connection that we had there. I really like Freeman. I get Freeman. I get him. I know where he's coming from, and I understand what he wants to experience. What's up, Siege? And some of the challenges that go along with it. But I like the dude. I think he's righteous. Freeman's righteous. My teams, yes. Let's see. Let's get a. Yeah. So the Kansas City Chiefs one. I'm a big Patrick Mahomes fan. I think the kid is amazing. And my nominal team, the team that I really I wouldn't say grew up with. I was a Raiders fan when I was a kid. Because the Raiders, they were like comic book characters. They all had nicknames. The Snake, the Stork, the Ghost, the Assassin, Dr. Death. These are all names, and so it's like they were like comic book characters. They split town and became a 49er fan. And they were amazing. They were truly amazing, but they haven't been the same since. So now I still kind of root for the Niners, but I root for players. And this kid, Pat Mahomes, he's originally from Tyler, Texas, and he went to Texas Tech University. He's incredible. I remember watching him in college, and I was thinking, my God, this kid he's going to be special. He's going to be just really special. And if I could see it, well, then I'm sure, general managers across the NFL could see it, but they didn't. So the Kansas City Chiefs did, and they drafted him. So Pat Mahomes is a Virgo. He and Andrew Luck, their birthdays are 2 days apart. So they're very close together, but they're born in different years. Pat Mahomes is younger than Luck by about 6 years, I think, 6 or 7 years. Luck's been around for a little bit. Luck is 29, and Pat Mahomes is 23. So I think 6 years difference. But Pat Mahomes is a very interesting chart. He's got Mars in Scorpio. And his Mars in Scorpio is in sextile. Well, his sun is in sextile with Uranus and Neptune. And the Uranus, or the orb between Uranus and the sun, is very tight for Mahomes. And he's incredible at improvisational skills and figuring things out as they, unfold. And he's just a magician. And he's a good guy, right? He's got that Virgo kind of humility down. It's rare when you meet a kind of a Virgo asshole. They exist. Trust me, they exist. Every sign has assholes floating around. Lyndon Johnson was a Virgo. Need I say more? And there's more. But Pat Mahomes is not. He's just humble. He's got a funny voice. He sounds a little like Kermit the Frog. And he looks a little like Sideshow Bob from The Simpsons. So he's he's a little unusual in that department. But man, did he slice and dice the Colts? Colts looked like they were a college team against the Chiefs. It was kind of embarrassing. So Pat Mahomes is going up against Tom Brady. That's classic, right? It's the old guy. It's You know, so Brady wins, it'll really be like a capstone on his career. If he can win against the Chiefs and get that team to the Super Bowl and win. I actually like Tom Brady. I'm not a huge Patriots fan. In fact, today I was watching the game and John Bon Jovi was sitting next to Bob Kraft in their booth. And let's see, they were playing Shot in the Heart. Yeah, do you give love in a bad name, right? They were playing a Bon Jovi song. And he's sitting there next to Bob Kraft. And, you know, Bon Jovi's from Jersey, Philadelphia. I mean, he really, I don't know. Why isn't he down in New Orleans like with his beloved Eagles? But he's singing along to the song with his perfect hair. And there's Bob Kraft sitting next to him. And I just, you know, it's like, that's why I hate the Patriots. I hate the Patriots, but I do like Tom Brady. Is that weird? I respect Tom Brady. And Belichick is a very smart guy. Super, super smart. Very smart guy. And then the Patriots just took apart the Chargers. Wasn't even close. So astrologically, we're looking at a Capricorn, a Leo, a Virgo, and a Libra as the championship games roll around. Last year, we had an Aquarius versus a Leo. It was Nick Foles who bowed out today. The turning point in that game was when they did the fake punt. And that was a big turning point because the Eagles lost one of their best players on that play. And the Saints were able to turn it around and have a first down. And that really kind of changed the tenor of the game. I didn't watch it. I didn't watch the game, though. I think I watched a few plays. I was out in the top secret meeting. But to answer your question, did any of my teams win? I suppose the Chiefs, because I like Pat Mahomes. And I'd love to see Andy Reid, you know, get to the Super Bowl again. Andy Reid went to my college. He went to San Francisco State. He's one of the more famous alumni from my college. The other famous alumni include the actor Delroy Lindo and Annette Bening. I think there's probably a few others, but those are the three that jump to the top of my head. What's going on with you guys tonight? What's happening? Hello, Lucy. Hello, Nicoletta from Calgary, Canada. There's Rebecca from California. Anna chiming in. Hey, there's Lynette. Hi, Lynette. Joe, Richard Newman. Hello, Joe, Richard. Let's see. Yeah, Michael Maloney. Evening. Top of the evening to you, Michael. How was everybody tonight? Are we feeling good? Are we feeling optimistic? Do we think the world is going to end? Or are we going to soldier through it and find our inner space along the way? I think I'm going to chime in for the latter. That's what I'm doing. Oh, speaking of ladder, I'm the human ladder at this point. You know who it is. You know who's here making his appearance. There he is. Mr. Big Head. Mr. Big Cat Head. He's right there. You want to say hi to it? You want to say hi to these people? You want to say hi to these people? Huh? You want to say hi? You want to peek in? He looks like he's enormous, right? At this angle. Say hi to everybody. He's a very talkative cat, but when I want him to talk, he doesn't say anything. Why is that? You love the lights, don't you? You love the glare of the bright lights. Well, we're still in the shutdown. That's still going on. That's more South Node in Capricorn. Did you see where the banks in France decided, oh, we're going to close today. Can't get any money out. See, that's the problem when you telegraph what you're going to do to these institutions. They'll just pull the plug on your shit, right? So if they're going to have a big withdrawal day, then maybe they should just go ahead and do it and, you know, not tell every banker, send a personal note to the Rothschilds they're going to be taking their money out. They may want to rethink that, clearly. Yours is a green tabby. Yeah, Jasper. Hey, Jasper Osha says hi. Yes. Hey, Robert, look at the new Elon Musk spaceship and compare to the cover of Love and Rockets. Okay, I'll do that. What's going on, Eddie? Thanks for showing up tonight. The realistic optimist. We should combine that into one word. Reloptimist. Hello, I Loren. Hey, there's Justice. We're optimist. We're optimist. I'm still tripping out over this Jeff Bezos and Carmen Sanchez thing. I mean, it's blowing me away. I'm sure. Jasper. I try to keep Jasper on a diet a little bit. Speaking of Rothschild, did I see that Jacob's wife died today? Ooh, how about that? Of course, somebody in Q land will say, well, that was on purpose. What about Bader Ginsburg? Do you think she's alive? Do you think Bader Ginsburg is alive? Because there's a rumor that she's not alive. Well, what are the odds that she's already gone? That's been circulating now for a couple of days that they pulled the plug. Have you seen his chart? Whose chart? Jasper's chart? I don't know when Jasper was born. He was a street cat. He was a street cat. I heard there was a no prenup. No. Oh, Bezos. Yes, I've seen Bezos' chart. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago, and I broke it down on the Sunday or the Saturday webinar. Bezos' wife looks like a horse. The bees, yeah. I've seen Bezos' chart. He's headed for a fall. He's headed for a fall. He's got Saturn on his midheaven, which should be a peak. But the problem for him is that he's got his south node on the midheaven as well. So Saturn's crossing his south node, and Pluto is just pretty much right crossed over his midheaven. He's a 20, I think Bezos is 26 degrees Capricorn, right around there, 25. Jeff is a special soul. Yeah. Yes. And then let's see, what's her name? Carmen Sanchez is a Sag. Now Bezos is a Capricorn. He is a Capricorn. We did his chart the other day. He's a big time Capricorn, midheaven in Capricorn, sun in Capricorn, south node in Capricorn. I can fire his chart up right now if you want. You can look at it. Why don't we get in? Why don't we get into Jeff Bezos? By the end of the year, he's making the money back. Well, we'll see. He's decided that he's going down. He's going down for love. He's going down into his fourth house, where the true node in Cancer is. I think it's funny. We talked about this the other day. Elon Musk lost his board seat because he got high with Joe Rogan, and now there are dick pics of Jeff Bezos floating around. I wonder what that's going to do with the board of Amazon. Mercury. Okay. How do I remember all this stuff? Yeah, he's 21 degrees Capricorn. So Pluto's on his sun. He's going to transform. Look, when Pluto hits your sun, let's be real about this. When Pluto hits your sun, you are going to go through a major shift, right? You're going to go through a big time shift. Something about your past is going to have to make way for something in your present, and certainly your future, or certainly your present and hopefully your future. Sanchez. So there's a term for Carmen Sanchez. There's a term called hypergamy, and it has to do with women that trade up because they're into power. So she pulled the ultimate hypergamy move. She's born on December 19th, and so her sun is conjunct the galactic center. This is a woman who goes after what she wants. No doubt about that. Absolutely no freaking doubt about it. So Jeff Bezos was in her sights for a while, and she got him. She got the guy, right? It'll be interesting to see what happens from here on out. You never know what happens with people when emotions really hit. I mean, you read those texts, and it's like the guy's never experienced that kind of feeling before, because the texts are like so awkward. But we can fire up his chart. Let's find it. Let's get into it. I got a few other charts we can look at tonight, some good ones too. So let's go Bezos. I find the whole thing fascinating. We went down the rabbit hole. He was eating at a restaurant the other day called Felix in Los Angeles, and there's some very interesting connections with King Felix. All right, let's see. We got Mr. Bezos. All right, so they don't have, hold on. I've seen some other charts here. Where was the chart where he's got his sun at the midheaven? Anyway, he's got sun in Capricorn. Let me just fire this up. Yeah. So he's got sun in Capricorn. Here, the Astro theme people have a better rendering of this. Hold on. Here we go. Un momentito. All right, see you later, Jasper. Adios. Adios. Lotta did a big YouTube on him. All right, hold on. Yeah, so the birth time I have for Bezos is 11:33 a.m. Let's do a little share screenage here. So there we go. Here's his chart. We looked at him, I think it was 2 weeks ago, right around his birthday, right? So, or no, hold on a second. Today is his birthday. Actually, yesterday was his birthday. So I think we looked at him, though, I think 2 weeks ago. Anyway, so this chart has him at 11:33 a.m. And that puts him in Aries rising territory at 20 degrees. Actually, it's at 20 degrees. And he, Aries rising men tend to lose their hair, or they have really high hairlines. So Mr. Bezos completely falls into that category. So you could imagine Pluto right up there at roughly 20 degrees. So next year, it'll hit his sun. Pluto will hit his sun. So even at an orb or degree of 1, right? An orb of 1, because the sun is here at 20, he's already going through the transformation. And he's going to have his wealth cleaved in half. And I think he's risking quite a bit. Saturn is here, right? Usually this is a peak. When Saturn hits the midheaven, it's a peak. My Saturn is on Jeff Bezos's midheaven, by the way. My Saturn's at 11 degrees. I was Jeff Bezos's master teacher in a past lifetime. You should ring me up. Yo, Jeff, remember me? So here's True Node is down here at Cancer 11, which means the South Node is conjunct his midheaven, which is interesting. And he's actually transcended to some extent what I would call the plague of Cancer or the South Node in the midheaven. And you know how he's done it? He's done it by shipping goods into people's homes. You see that? Fourth house, commerce coming into the home. That's how he's transcended because originally at one point in time, Amazon just sold books and they were kind of hanging by the string of their teeth, right? Skin of their teeth. And they weren't turning a profit. And then all of a sudden, things got interesting for them. They started to take on more and more retailers. And they also started to do some deals with the government. And now he's managing the CIA. And I don't think he's managing the NSA. I think he's managing CIA's cloud. Amazon's in charge of the CIA cloud. And they think some of that money had been sort of vested into Bezos and Amazon a while back. But he transcended the South Node in his midheaven by getting into people's homes. And he does it again and again and again. Whether it's Alexa or whether it's, now they want to actually get inside your home and drop your package off in your home. No, thanks. But that's how I believe he's transcended what some people would consider a handicap with the South Node on the midheaven, although his sun is in the midheaven, so he's going to be prominent. He's going to be well known. He's going to use his brain for business. Now, apparently, the affair between him and Carmen Sandiego has been going on for a while. right? It hasn't just started up. The rumor is it's been going on for probably about a year. And it was actually the event that caused him and his soon-to-be super rich ex-wife without a prenup. That's what caused them to separate. Now, what's really odd is Carmen Sandiego has not moved out of her husband's house. She's still living there with her super agent, her Hollywood super, who's worth a measly $300 million. You know, so that's called hypergamy. 140 billion, 300 million, 140 billion, 300 million. And she's so her son connected to the galactic center. She's just going to expand, right? She's just going to go for it. You know, to be honest with you, I actually think his wife is more attractive. You can tell his wife is a better person. I mean, you just looked at her and said, better person. You know, she just reeks of better person. Carmen Sandiego, if you go on the message boards, man, she's not faring well. And it's not because people are jealous, not because women are jealous, because she has Jeff Bezos. Although money will make a lot of people very attractive. No, it's because she's got a reputation of being, you know, a hussy. The term "rode hard" shows up on a lot of message boards in conjunction with Carmen Sanchez. She's had quite a few notable affairs, that's for sure, with actors, politicians, athletes. She has one child, and that's with former football player Tony Gonzalez. So he's down here now, down in his true node. He's in the realm of feeling. And you never know what happens when people really get into feeling. Sometimes their worlds can become, they can improve sometimes. I mean, maybe it humanizes him, you know? Maybe it humanizes him. Maybe he decides he wants to sell Amazon, or maybe he just sees things there. Who knows where this is going to go? And sometimes people can become very unraveled. You know, Pluto on the sun also represents compulsion and obsession, right? So you could tell, man, this guy's obsessed with her. He's totally obsessed with her. You read those emails? I'm like, those texts. I want to love you alive. I want to get a little drunk with you. Not stumbling drunk, but a little drunk. And we could stay up all night and feel each other's. I mean, it's like really awkward shit, you know. And it's gotten out. You have to wonder, is this, you know, did somebody plan this? Apparently, she sent the text to her friends, but they've been following these people around for like 4 months, you know, and I'm sure they have a lot more in them. The National Choir called it, was it Project Echo or something like that? I think it was called Project Echo. Hush, hush, top secret. The National Choir. But he's dealing with obsession. Anytime you get Pluto right here, bada bing, you're dealing with obsession. That's the way it goes. That is the way it goes. So it'll be fascinating to see how this all plays out in his life. He's going to start to have Saturn, you know, square off against Jupiter. That's already happening right now. He's got Jupiter in Aries. Saturn Jupiter squares, to me, that's the outlay of cash that he's going to have to deal with his ex-wife right there. Oh, he's got his moon. Oh, look at that. His moon is at 28 degrees. And Carmen Sandiego's sun is at 20, I think it's like a 28, 27, 28. She's so 26. So they got a moon sun conjunction. But they found each other. Good for them. Moon sun conjunctions in synastry are really, really good. They're typically some of the best. But she's running the energy. She's running the energy in that relationship. It's her sun and his moon. So she's getting in touch with what? His feelings. Little Jeffy has feelings. When I say little, I'm referring to his height. Apparently, he's not so little in other areas. Of course, nobody's ever seen that. Maybe some people have, but maybe there's another reason why Miss Carmen Sanchez has decided that she wants to throw in with who was once one of the world's richest men. Oh, he's back again. Where did you go? Did you have a little water break? He's not giving up the ghost. Okay, so Saturn is also, let's see, well, Pluto's squaring his ascendant. Look at that. Bada bing right there. It's going to change his life. This is going to change his life. And the wheel of fortune is spinning. You don't know where it's going to go. You don't know where it's going to go. Apparently, they were carrying on and on and on at this restaurant the other night in LA. I feel like I'm gossiping, but I find this fascinating, right? This guy's like a total control freak. I mean, Bezos is freaking control personified. And the stories that come out of Amazon are not pretty. Like some of the warehouse stuff is just ugly. And inside of Amazon, it's like Ayn Rand on steroids. That's the competitive nature inside of Amazon. And some people like it. Some people are into it. And some people, you know, once they vest their shares, are out and on to something else. But this is fascinating. Pluto's going to be squaring his ascendant. It's going to change him. This is really going to change him. It's going to change his life in a lot of ways. And I'm not sure he clearly knows at this point. But they were carrying on the other night at this restaurant, Felix. It's a trippy place. Inside of this restaurant, they've got like a hyper Saturnian hypercube. It's really a trip. Maybe I should show it to you guys. You want to see it? You want to see the? You got to see the inside of this place. I'll show it to you. I actually have a. So you're leaving again. Where are you going this time? Where you can go. Go on. All right. All right, you guys got to see this, the inside of it. Some of you probably already seen it. Some of you have either lived in LA, been in LA, right? Let me just pop this thing up here. Okay, where is it? There it is right here. Where do you see the inside of this place? It's a trip. We covered this in the webinar yesterday and a lot more. So this is the inside of Felix. It's like a full-on Saturnian cube. This is the hypercube. The cooks are in a hypercube cage. I mean, it's kind of a cool idea, right? You get to extend it out and people get to see what they're doing back there. This is the front kitchen, and obviously they've got a back kitchen back here. So here's the hypercube. And check out their logo. It's like sigils all over the place. Their logo is one sort of integrated, I guess, sigil. So these people know what they're doing. There's some arcane technology that's been plugged into their restaurant. It's one of the hardest tickets to get, one of the hardest reservations to get in LA. It's where all the elite go, right? We know Saturn is connected to the L in the cult of Saturn worship. So that's where they were hanging out, and they were making out like teenagers. How about that? The word on the street was it was making people uncomfortable. It's like, get a room. He's into it. Sun on Pluto on Sun. It'll be very interesting to see where this goes. Very interesting. One of the richest men in the world, at least on the surface. There are other rich people, far richer than Mr. Bezos. You'll never know who they are. All right, let's check in with the chat room there. See what we got going in Chatland. Chatlandia. Let's see. Dirty Sanchez, absolutely. I thought about that too. Probably you should contact Masterclass to see if you can sell an astrology course. Yeah. Black Moon Lilith, 8th in Scorpio. There you go. Somebody's paying attention. Nicoletti, he will make the money back, double the loss either way. They like it or not, my opinion. Okay, we'll see. Well, he'll make the money back. I'm not attached to it. I think part of him is going to become undone, though. That's my piece. He has to. He's got Pluto square in his ascendant. He's got Pluto on his sun. How can you not become undone? He makes the money back, fine, great, but he's going to become undone. There are little pyramids in the logo. There are more, yes. There's lots of pyramids in that logo. It's just normal. You need to know what you do. Symbols are code. Yes, they're code. They're making out like teenagers. Speak, haven't felt amplified lips in 45 years. I know, man. She's had some work. Lauren's had some work. Hey, BB, what's happening? What's going on? Beebs. Love your shows. Hey, thanks, Aloha Light Pro, 1432. Not curious about people's riches. I have my Pluto square. My life is upside down. No joke. I agree. Thank you, sir. Good night. Let's see. Turquoise sky, just brilliant, vivid, overwhelming. Ooh, that's nice. We like overwhelming beauty. Roll from Sacramento to Vegas today, 95 South, 80s turquoise, saturated in turquoise, most amazing day. Cool, man. Right on. Good. I would totally sign up for that, master. All right, we'll look into it. We'll look into it. All right, so hey, how about a little chart of the moment? Check out where we are astrologically. I got a few charts lined up for us tonight. We can look at one of which I think it's interesting. Maybe you'll think it's interesting too. All right, here we go. Away we go. Chart of the moment. Okay, let's pop it up here. Bada bing, there it is. Okay, so we've got ascendant 1 Virgo. And let's see, our midheaven now is at 29 Taurus. And all right, we've got Venus Jupiter conjunction. Oh, that's nice. So we're going to have Venus and Jupiter getting closer together this week. So what by the weekend, and that's going to be, let's see, 6 to 14. So it's going to be about what 10 days from now. So we're talking like Wednesday of next week. Venus is going to be conjunct Jupiter, but it's moving into orb with Jupiter. That's very expansive. That's very, very expansive. I like it. Venus Jupiter conjunctions are free, they're liberating, but you got to tell the truth inside a relationship. You just got to tell the truth inside a relationship. If you don't tell the truth, if you've ever been with anybody who has Venus and Sagittarius in a relationship, you cannot lie to these people. I mean, they will snip it out, number one. And number two, it's really kind of the bedrock. I mean, it's you know, it's good to be upfront in relationships anyway, right? You want to keep things clean and try to, you know, keep the circuits, you know, humming. But we're all human, and sometimes, you know, we get caught in certain areas of our lives. Sometimes it's omission, not even like, you know, out and out lying. Well, if somebody's got Venus and Sagittarius, that's not going to work, and they'll eventually find out. But the best thing to do is to have a very open and honest relationship. If you're connected with somebody in Venus and Sag, and they can be a lot of fun. They can be very inspiring people to be around. Sometimes they can get a little heavy-handed and moralistic about love and truth. It's okay. Take the good with the bad. Probably more good, I think. I like Venus and Sag. It's very lively aspect for Venus. And there's always this kind of higher element to Sagittarius. It's like, you know, stepping up and getting to the next level. Human love is sort of this, you know, sort of the porch of divine love with Venus and Sagittarius in general. So Venus is coming in for landing here in Jupiter by next week on Wednesday night or Wednesday day, roughly. I don't have the ephemeris, but I think it's probably pretty close. But every day it's going to get closer and closer and closer because Jupiter is a little slower than Venus is. And that's going to be good. Right now, Venus is getting into kind of a wide, well, it's in a nice trine with Mars, the Venus-Mars trine. Speaking of Mars, the Rams won. The moon and Mars were in Aries yesterday. Hello, how could the Rams not win? I'm sure they, you know, there's a chance that they couldn't win. I was actually really curious about how Jared Goff was going to do, because Jared Goff who's the quarterback of the Rams, is a Libra. And I thought, wow, so he's got, you know, moon opposite his sun, and Mars is coming into play. You know, I wonder if he's going to have to deal with the onslaught of aggression coming at him. He was fine. It was like nobody got to him. It was really amazing. Like, I think he was touched one time the whole game. And he was cool as a cucumber and sealed the deal and got the win. So the opposition did not phase Jared Goff, the quarterback for the Los Angeles, the Libra quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams. He looks like a Libra too. You looked at him and saw him. But right now, Venus is in trine with Mars, so it's actually really this is a good energy, right? I like this Venus Mars trine. In fact, it's really, really close, right? Mars is at 8, Venus is at 6. So Venus will ultimately overtake Mars over the course of the next couple of days, but over the course of the next couple of days, it's going to get closer and closer until we're going to get really spot on with a tidal orb over the next couple of days with the Venus Mars trine, and that's great energy. You know, this is energy where, you know, if you want to incorporate it, it's like energy that can be really encouraging and very enthusiastic, right? So the thing I love about Sagittarius is Sagittarius is generous by and large. It's a generous sign. So now that we have Jupiter in Sagittarius, wherever it shows up in your chart, you should be able to plug into and play with, experience and expand your generosity. So if it's in the second house, it could be financial generosity, first house, personal generosity, third house, you know, generous thoughts, big thoughts, you know. You might talk a little too much. Might be a little bit generous, too generous on the communication side with Jupiter in the third house. But Todd Rundgren used to have this saying, which I for many years I followed, which is anything worth doing is worth overdoing. That is the Sagittarian maxim. Remember that. But Jupiter in the fourth house, I did a session today with a really cool guy. Lives in just outside of Asheville. And I'm looking, you know, it's a video session, right? Skype. And he pops on the screen. I'm looking at him. I'm like, that guy's in a trailer. You know, I could tell he's in a trailer. It's a nice trailer. And you can tell, you know, if you've been in a trailer, you know what a trailer looks like. And I'm looking at his chart and I'm like, wow, Jupiter's going through his fourth house. And he's living in a trailer. Well, he's got to get bigger. He's got to expand. Well, took us less than 10 minutes and, you know, find out that he's living in the trailer because they bought 2 acres worth of land and they're building a house on the land. They're doing, and this is the cool thing, right? They're doing themselves, they're paying cash, they're taking their time, they're not taking out a big loan, they don't want to be beholden to anybody, right? This is so cool. But there it was, Jupiter transiting the fourth house. He's expanding his world. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So, I mean, I love astrology, you know, that way where you can see stuff, right? The other thing that I saw is like, I'm looking at the moon in his 11th house. I'm like, wow, this is really a good time for you for fellowship, and you should really like find a group that you can share your feelings with and, you know, be kind of more okay with, you know, sharing your feelings. I think a group experience would be great for you, but one that's really, really supportive. And he says, well, I just joined a men's group about 5 weeks ago. He says, it's really great. I'm really connecting. And I'm like, bang, there we go, right? See, here's the other side. If some of you are, and I know some of you are astrologers out there, some of you are aspiring astrologers, some of you like to play with astrology. When you see somebody, just like what I was talking about, right? He's joined a group, a men's group, moon in Cancer, 5th house, the true node going through there. See, that was the emphasis. That was the emphasis I saw. It's like, you got to get in there, man. Your true node is in your 11th house. It's a way for you to like bond and connect. And so I saw that when I saw Jupiter, and he's doing those things. Like so what does that mean? It means he's living his chart. He's living his chart. If somebody is not doing those things, well, guess what? They are not living their chart. And it doesn't mean that you have to live your chart all the way around, every degree, every angle, every corner, 360 degrees worth. But when you are living your chart, guess what happens? Your life gets better. It's easier. You're not fighting against the grain of your life. This is what the beautiful thing about astrology is. It gives us a map. The map is shifting. The map is changing. The terrain is, you know, altering, transforming itself all the time, right? So he was living his chart, and his life is much better. The other thing that he shared with me is that he's decided that he's going to take some time out from, recreational sort of deviations, distractions. Been doing it for a while, and guess what? It's like really lining up with his ascendant in Virgo, Mars on the ascendant, true node on Virgo. Things are taking off for him. So if you're looking at working with people, or you do work with people, if you find a couple of hits inside their chart and they're really kind of on those places that you're pinpointing, then they're moving in the right direction. And in those moments, readings can really shift, and they become less about sort of breaking things down that are hard or difficult, and more about unraveling and unearthing potential. So anyway, it was a good experience, and it's one of those things, one of those times where it's like I love what I do, because now we're in like a level of communion. It's all like like that. So the Venus-Mars trine. This is what I was getting into before I got into the Sagittarius Jupiter digression about generosity, right? This is a time where even with Jupiter and Sag, period, end of story. But even this week, like you can step out of your ego this week, I think, easier. And you can pay people like real compliments, or I don't always like to use the word empowerment, because empowerment always sort of has this connotation of hierarchies, right? Well, I really like to empower people. Okay, so that means that you're in a position of power and there are people that are lesser than you. I mean, I get it. I mean, sometimes it's just the way the relationship works. And I'm not sure I have another word for it, right? But this Venus-Mars trine is actually pretty good in terms of kind of opening like doors or levers, or, for people, and making it seem very natural, by the way, lifting each other up, right? This Venus-Mars trine, over the course of this week has a lot of updraft to it, so it's like you can be supportive, or you can be complimentary, or you can be, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess empowering, positive, but towards another, because we're talking about Venus, right? We're talking about relating, and it can be very healing. It could be really, really healing if we're because there's this energy that's kind of around, floating around with this Venus-Mars trine, where you don't have to struggle. You don't have to work hard to defend yourself. There's kind of a level of isness with it, but take it up another level, take it up a notch. Really, really get into it. We can all play our parts, and I think that's where some magic can really come into play. Mars is going to get closer to Jupiter as well. We're going to get that Mars-Jupiter trine. That's going to be, I think it's going to be right around the Super Bowl, right? That's 3 weeks from now, and now Mars will be there probably 8 degrees to 14. What is Mars? Mars is like 3 a day, so 8. Well, about 2 weeks, I think 12, 13 days. Yeah, we won't be in Super Bowl territory then. But nonetheless, Mars will still be in Aries, I believe, right around the Super Bowl. Anyway, Super Bowl is February 3rd. But I do like the Jupiter-Mars trine. Again, that's really, it's about, there's kind of almost like a fervent energy with Mars-Jupiter. It's almost borderline evangelical in some ways, like really high, really kind of electric and very stimulating, but not competitive. Even though it's Mars, it's like, helping each other, kind of get motivated and moving, and really, again, I'm gonna use the word again, empowering. It's a very empowering aspect. So clearly we've got Venus-Mars trine this week. Go with it, use it, roll with it. Saturn, let's see, the moon is at 21 Aries. So tomorrow we're gonna have a Moon-Uranus conjunction. That'll be interesting, huh? Uranus is Yeah, it's in square with Pluto right now. It's been there for a while, and we've got the sun at 23. By the end of the week, we're going to have a sun-Uranus square. That's going to be interesting. I think that's political. I think we're looking at political theater around the world, not just this country. I mean, the yellow vest thing it's not going away. Now it's spreading to England. Theresa May is stumbling across the finish line for Brexit. Will she make it? I'm not sure. Now you've got, a lot of these discrepancies coming up with what Trump wants in Syria versus what the Israelis and John Bolton wants. And we're dealing with heavy duty Capricorn energy, which is all about hierarchies, command control technology, squaring off against Uranus. It's going to get very interesting. Is that shutdown territory? I don't know. Could be. Well, I think we're now at the longest period phase cycle of the shutdown in history. Look, things are still running. I think where it gets tricky is about 30 days out, and let's see what happens. But I think it's 80%. Tax returns are going out, pensions are going out, so things are still happening, still working. But as the sun moves into closer square with Uranus, things could get explosive, right? And we're at those final degrees of Uranus and Aries. It's like, it's those final degrees are tricky. It's like the energy is kind of all over the place. There's a lot of impatience tomorrow with that Moon Uranus conjunction. Be aware of that. A lot of impatience. Especially when you're driving. If you have to drive tomorrow, be careful, especially if you're driving in bad weather. Keep your eyes on the horizon. We got a Venus-Neptune square coming up. That's going to get stronger as the week goes on. So while Venus in Sagittarius strives for truth in relationship, strives for authenticity in relationship, Neptune squaring Venus is an aspect of deception. It is when the energy is drained from relationship based on either some sort of dissipation or deception or dissolution. You can pick your D word. The Neptune square to Venus can often also represent some form of betrayal, right? So I would not be surprised if we see, on the cosmic screen of the mundane theater, some form of betrayal played out before our very eyes, vis-a-vis some, well-known couple or something along those lines, which obviously is sort of where the mundane theater takes place, just so we could all see it, see what it looks like, right? So, some of us may experience it in our own lives, possibly, maybe. So Venus is going to get closer into orb with Neptune by the end of the week. This weekend should be very interesting in terms of energy, this coming weekend. And there are all those squares, Saturn, Mercury, Pluto, Sun, all just slamming up against Uranus. And Mercury will get there. Saturn won't get there. Saturn's not, it's a 12 to 28. Yeah, it's not happening. I mean, but that's 16 degrees. That's pretty far afoot. Yeah, it's not happening. But Mercury will. Mercury Uranus squares. That's when things go haywire. That's when technology goes wacko. And what are we talking about? That's let's see, 10 days will be 23. And then about 15 days, about 2 weeks from now. And so in February, wacko electro time. And let's see, what else do we have here? Pluto, we talked about the Pluto square a little bit, Sun square, definitely. And let's see, Mars. Mars is kind of behind everything. Saturn's at 12, Mercury's at 13, Pluto's at 21, Saturn's at 23. So I think they've kind of moved off a little bit. I mean, Saturn technically is still in square with Mars, but it's moving past it now. Now Mars, on the other hand, will probably wind up moving into square. So it's going to be coming from the Mars side of things. Wow, Mars is going to wind up squaring all those planets. That's kind of intense, actually. Sorry, I had to reverse engineer that moment. That's kind of intense, actually. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like the energy. I don't like it, unless, of course, you are super aggressive and you have a lot of ambition and you're professionally oriented. Then, you know, Mars squaring all those Capricorn planets will be right up your alley. But I'm not a fan of the energy. This to me is very conflicted, and a lot of anger, a lot of anger. You know, the anger is palpable, but you know, the anger is manufactured too. I mean, it's like it's been manufactured for decades now. You know, do you think where we're at just happened overnight? Do you think all of a sudden Trump just washed up on the shore? Do you think all of a sudden the Democrats just decided to shut it down and shut him out? No, this has been happening for a long time, and it's part of the playbook, right? And it's been stoking people's anger and people's fear and people's anxiety, and you know, the people that run these programs, they love it. That's where they thrive because it knocks us off our game. We're at each other's throats, and they get to do a bunch of shit behind the scenes that we're not paying attention to. And the next thing you know, we're in a bigger crisis than we ever were. So, you know, I guess we can play into their hands. I mean, look, we got to sort stuff out. And there are things that are coming to light. They've been coming to light for a while, right? And a lot of it is on both sides, but you know, it's we have to sort some stuff out here and get clear, right? I mean, there's some things that are just not tenable. If you listen to my show Monday through Thursday, you'll get a taste of those things. Not a lot of air right now, as you can see. We look down at the bottom. We look at our little key grid here. It's not a lot of air. We have the midheaven in Gemini. Well, that's just for now, tonight, as we exchange ideas, move into the realm of multiplicity. But you know, for the week ahead, you know, we're not going to get much air. You know, Sagittarius is not an air sign. Clearly, it's a fire sign. But if you look at Jupiter, which is the planet that rules Sag, right? Gaseous. It's gaseous. So, I mean, it's got atmosphere. It may not have air. Let's see. Anything else? Anything else? I think that's it for the chart of the moment. We've broken that down. Let me check back in with you folks. See what's happening. Yeah, let's see. Millionaire Next Door. Don't judge book by its cover. The Millionaire. Yeah, you know, I actually. Let's see. I read that. I was at The Millionaire Next Door. I think I read that book. Yeah, it's an interesting book. You know, these guys went out and they tried to find out what a millionaire was like and how they got to be a millionaire. And so they got all these millionaires together and they bought all this like really high quality alcohol, high quality food. And all these guys got there because they're going to ask them all these questions, right? And all these guys got there and they were not into it. They were into cheap beer. You know, they were into Budweiser, they were into, you know, Coors Light, Michelob Light, whatever. And so everything that these guys brought to the table about being a millionaire just completely blew up their model, totally blew up their model. I read that book. It's a very interesting book. Very, very interesting book. Okay. Thanks for bringing that up, Charles. It's a fascinating book in a lot of ways. And how they made their money is also very interesting too. Let's see. Hey, there's Sticky Marks. What's going on? How do high up government workers secure their jobs? Creating division and a bigger government. Laugh out loud. It's an amazing algorithm, isn't it? Once you're in, it's hard to get fired. Melody Scott Zindel says, well, I just hope there is not a serious false flag event. They can then blame Trump for, since everyone hates him so much, related to shutdown. Well, you know, that's quite possible. That's quite possible. This was a period where, you know, with Mars going into his 8th house, that I thought it was going to be a tricky time for him. What else do we have here? Let's see. Manufactured anger. I just read it was in context. I said I took it, that John Oh, okay, there's Jean. Okay. All right. All right. Let's do a few more charts here. Okay, so today, all right, first of all, before we get into the, I wanted to sort of bring this up here, because this is since we're on the subject of politics, I think it's probably okay. So let's do this. Okay, so this very attractive woman is Tulsi Gabbard, and she is from Hawaii. I believe she's a congresswoman from Hawaii, and she is aptly clad in red. And in a few moments, I'll show you why. She just announced that she's running for president of the United States in 2020. And she's actually a very interesting person. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she comes from a Sikh, S-I-K-H background. Her parents are very new agey. She's got new agey parents. So she's got this kind of new age background. And she was in the army. She served in Iraq for 2 years. And I've been following her for a while. She's actually very interesting. Her points of view tend to lean towards libertarian. I mean, if you wanted to kind of look at what the evolution of a real Democrat might be, had the Democratic Party evolved along a certain line, instead of being sellout globalists while pretending to be everybody's best friend, it would be this woman. Because while everybody else was out stomping their feet and protesting and casting dark magical spells against Donald Trump, she was the only Democrat that met with his transition team. The only one. That's it. The only one. So that says something about her. While people were demonizing Bashir al-Assad and what was going on in Syria, well, she happened to get on a plane and fly there and actually talk to Assad and talk to the Syrian people, and came back with some rather interesting news about what's really going on in Syria. So this is kind of a unique person. And at the same time, she's also cozying up to the Council on Foreign Relations, which is why she's running for president. Like, you cannot become president of the United States unless you have the backing of a major, and I mean major entity, like the Trilateral Commission or the CFR or APAC or you name it. In some cases, you got to get rubber stamped by all of them. But she's interesting, and she's very unlike sort of the flavor of the month, Miss Ocasio-Cortez. I'd actually like to see these two in a debate, because they're opposite signs astrologically. Let me show you her chart. It's not, I don't have the time, but we could look at sort of the assemblage of things in her chart, and you'll get an idea as to what this woman is about. Let me just see if I can geolocate this thing. Hold on. Where did it go? Here it is. I'm gonna have to do like a, here, I'll just do this. No. Hold on. There we go. All right. But keep in mind, Jeff Bezos is a rabbit. He's born in the year of the rabbit. He's 5'7.5". Another one of these. I hate to say it, but the biggest tyrants in the world were all under 5'9". That includes Hitler all the way down to Stalin. Give me a second. Hold on. Here. Hold on. Okay, come on, Tulsi, pop up. Okay, and remember, keep in mind that we don't have the birth time. But look at all this Aries. Holy smokes. It's got a stellium in Aries. So when she dresses in red, she's like showing out. She's got a Sun-Mars conjunction. This woman's got vitality, vivacity. By the way, Miss Octavia Cortez is a Libra. She has Mars in Libra and Sun in Libra. So they are opposites. I'd love to see them debate each other. I think it's about as close as you get to a cat fight with two female politicians. Because man, opposite signs of the same sex creates rivalry. So here's the military piece too. She's a warrior. This woman's a warrior. The thing that's really interesting about her chart, she has no Earth. No Earth. She's got Neptune in Sag, which is very inspirational. Pluto, final degree of Scorpio. So she's really at the end of I'm sorry, that's my bad. That's Uranus and Scorpio, not Pluto. Pluto's over here. So Uranus at the end of Scorpio. And her Pluto is in Libra at 22. So she's not a millennial, she's a Gen Xer. And then she has Saturn and Jupiter in Libra. So very fair, right? Like this is a person who can be very fair. And she's got her true node in Leo and moon in Leo. Now, as you know, I did a show probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago called the Leo Code. And it basically makes the linkage between the sign of Leo and the presidency, and how if you look at the charts of everybody, basically from Jimmy Carter, with the exception of Reagan, by the way, there's an incredibly prominent dispensation of Leo in all their charts. She's got it. She's got it. She's got that true node in Leo. I think she's probably born on a partial eclipse, it looks like. I'd have to look it up. I haven't gone that far, but she might be born in a partial eclipse. Anyway, she's got the Leo bona fides. A very interesting chart. And she's got that Mercury moon trine, which gives her some empathy. But she's not a wallflower at all. This woman's a warrior. So it's a real dance here between Venus and Mars in the chart. Libra and Aries, and balancing out the two. And and again, I don't know the time. This is just kind of an Aries rising chart. But the midpoint between all of it, theoretically, it's not quite the exact midpoint, would be Neptune, which is sort of this spiritual medium that exists between these two poles. I think she's really interesting. Her biggest challenge, she doesn't have any Earth. So this is an action-oriented person, but it's an action-oriented person that is also trying to work things out and find balance at the same time. I think she'd be a really interesting candidate, even though she has snuggled up to the CFR. I just want to see her debate Beto. Beto's a Libra too, right? But they may make a dynamic duo, because now you're talking non-rivals and two people coming together. Maybe she'll set Beto straight. Beto. Okay, so I just wanted to share a little topical news. Topical chart stuff. Tulsi Gabbard. It's not a storm, that's Jasper making out with the computer screen. Okay, today is the birthday of David Grohl. David Grohl, the drummer from Nirvana. A lot of people know him as the singer of the Foo Fighters, but he was the drummer for Nirvana before he was the singer for the Foo Fighters. And he's got a pretty intense chart. I mean, look at his midheaven. He's got Mars and Scorpio. If you've ever seen a Foo Fighters concert, ever watched him drum for Nirvana, I mean, that guy's intense. I mean, he is channeling energy. He's channeling that Mars up into the midheaven. He's very physical, right? So, but he also has the sun on the ascendant. So he's got 2 points in his chart where, he's very dynamic and has a lot of charisma. And I'm going to show you something really interesting here in a minute, but he was meant to, lead a band, or he was meant to be a front man, right? Sun in the first house is like being a front man. It's like, You know, it's all about the personality. And, you know, he came in, I wouldn't say he came into it later, but he didn't come on like Cobain did, you know. By the way, I lived in Olympia, Washington when Nirvana was there. And I never saw them because I ran in different circles, but I knew they were there. And Cobain had his ashes tossed out in a little watershed area there in Olympia. He's got the Moon Neptune conjunction to Moon and Sag. There's more fire, right? Moon at 2 degrees Sag, and it does square off against Venus. But this is a pretty harmonic chart. Sun square Saturn. People have Sun Saturn squares have issues with authority. You know, I mean, he's worked it out. He's become his own authority. Bottom line. Sometimes when people have Sun Saturn squares, their success comes to them later in life. But the fates had something else in store for Dave Grohl. And he's got a bunch of planets up here in his 8th house. Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Again, Jupiter trine the Sun, Uranus trine the Sun. This is a chart that's just got so much energy, right? Even if he is a Capricorn, there's a lot of fire in this chart. You know, he doesn't have, I mean, he's got Moon in Sag, and he's got Saturn. Saturn in, where is it? In Aries puts a damper on the fire, right? Puts a damper on the fire. By the way, if you ever are working with somebody and they don't have a lot of fire in their chart, but they do have, say, the Sun on the ascendant or Mars on the ascendant, they make up for not having a lot of fire in the chart. But he's dynamic. He's got that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Things happen very quickly, right? Very quickly in relationship. Sometimes it can be perhaps even lucky, maybe, perhaps. We'll see here. Now, remember, Nirvana was on the way to breaking up when Kurt Cobain was either killed himself or was killed. And we looked into that. We had I did a whole show with Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love, and you know, you can see in the charts that there's some, you know, things are not right. So if there's suspicion, there should be. And I did a whole show on it. I'm not going to go back into it now. But what would have happened if, let's say, Nirvana broke up and then got back together? Kurt got clean, and you know, Dave Grohl would probably, you know, still be drumming away, right? Still be drumming away. Well, Nirvana's loss was the Foo Fighters' gain in a lot of ways. Let me show you what happens here. One sec. Okay, so Kurt Cobain died on the 5th of April in 1994. You know, for some people, it was a lot like when John Kennedy died. You know, Kurt Cobain was huge. I mean, he was huge. I mean, you couldn't go anywhere without, you know, that's when MTV was still playing music. So he was all over MTV. That's number one. Number two, he was in tabloids because he had a crazy ass relationship with Courtney Love. And they were both doing drugs like crazy. So reading about that all the time. He was everywhere. He was getting into trouble, and you know, it was Kurt getting ready to kind of, you know, his flame out moment. So for a lot of kids, you know, Kurt Cobain was, you know, Johnny Rotten and Bob Dylan all rolled into one, right? It wasn't for me. I was older than that. I was in my 30s by that time. It didn't really mean that much. Although I liked him. I'll tell you what, when I was in Olympia, okay, I was living in Olympia, and Nevermind, there's a store, record store in Olympia, and I think they got Nevermind early because of the location and Nirvana being from Olympia. And so they had the album cover, you know, the kid underwater with the dollar and everything. I think the store is called Evergreen Records, I think. It's a pretty cool store. Anyway, I'm in there, and they're playing the record, or I think at that time it probably was the CD because CDs were just coming out, but there was records too. And I'm listening to this, and I'd heard some of Nirvana's other stuff. Like when I was living in Seattle, they were playing some singles, some stuff off their first record, Bleach, and this sounded nothing like it. And I listened to this record, I said, holy shit, this is going to be huge. This is going to be a huge, huge record. And it was like, I hadn't heard anything like that since a very similar situation. I was in a record store, I used to live in record stores, in San Francisco called Aquarius Records. And they got some pre-release copies of the Joshua Tree before it came out, because these guys had industry connections, and they're playing the Joshua Tree, and I knew it was U2 because I could could recognize Bono's voice, but I'd never heard it before. And I'm hearing it for the first time in this record store, side to side, and I'm like, holy shit, this record's going to be enormous. This is going to put U2 on the map. And sure enough, it happened. So I heard both those records, and I thought, okay, well, they're going to be big, and clearly they were. So let's get into what happens here. Sometime on April 5th, and I have April 5th, around his death at around 5 p.m., because what I did is I put the sun in the 5th house. Right, so this is kind of a horary chart. And I'm looking at how the death of Kurt Cobain impacted Dave Grohl. And some interesting things come up. And again, this is going to be right around sort of this time that I'm playing with. But you have to understand that even if it was a different time, the planets would still line up on Grohl's planets. They'd just be in different houses, okay? Just keep that in mind. I'm more interested on the impact on the inner wheel than I am on the outer wheel, because that is what it is, right? So if you look at it, look what happens here. Dave Grohl at that time had Neptune and Uranus both on his ascendant and on his sun, which means that his identity was going to change, right? And he went from what? Being a drummer to a guitar player. This is what happens in the aftermath of Cobain's death, the death of Nirvana and the birth of the Foo Fighters. He changes everything. And people are going, where did this guy come from? We didn't know he could sing like that. We didn't know he could write a song like that. We didn't know he could play guitar like that. That's what happened, changed him. But that was an ongoing process. Ongoing process. At the same time, Jupiter, right around this time, was conjuncting his midheaven, which meant the midheaven's the point of contact with the world at large, right? It's the world with the capital WORLD. What happens? Cobain dies, he starts a new band, and his world gets much bigger. It transforms his world because Jupiter's in Scorpio. This is at the time of Cobain's death. Changes his path. Opportunity opens up. Okay? It's not easy. Saturn is on Venus down here, right? It had been. So relationships are going to change. With the Saturn-Venus conjunction, his relationship with Cobain was going to change no matter what. At some point, it was either the death of Nirvana or the death of Kurt Cobain. Would he have formed? The Foo Fighters? I don't know. We don't know. Maybe it would have been different in some ways. Maybe it was Cobain's death that motivated. I don't know. I haven't read the biography or anything, or the cliff notes on Dave Grohl. I'm just sharing the chart with you. But that relation was going to go through some change anyway. Because that's what happens when Saturn conjuncts Venus, right? Your relationships come up for review. It's a reckoning. Saturn brings the energy of reckoning. And it brings compression. Just squeezes everything out of it, right? And what's left is what you get. And you get to take it with you. What's non-essential, see you later, right? But I'm really, really blown away by Jupiter on his midheaven, the ongoing transformation of his identity with Neptune, Uranus, and oh, by the way, at that time, the sun is in Aries, right here, right? He's got Saturn in Aries. That energy with Kurt Cobain's death is going to unlock his Saturn. He's going to, guess what? Get to become the authority. he gets to lead the band. Right? He gets to have his own band. This is I think this is really interesting for me, right? Yes, there's some oppositions going on. Mars, Pluto, look at that. Mercury, Mars in the sign of Pisces. Cobain was a Pisces. I think it's 0 degrees Pisces, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, opposition Pluto, right? His Pluto. So we're getting into death now. We're getting into his 8th house. And, you know, the 8th house is the underworld. And as Steve Crimmy pointed out, you know, last year, that Pluto lords over and is the guardian of gifts of the underworld. Then we got into this on our show together. If you go through Europe, you know, they have a number of temples to Pluto. Very few temples to Hades, because Hades was a cheap bastard. People didn't like Hades. You go down to the underworld, and there's a deal, you get burned. At least with Pluto, you go to the underworld, you might get something. You might get some jewels, you might get some seeds, you might get your soul back. But Hades is a cheap bastard. So Pluto, Jupiter, Uranus, 8th house, the gifts emerge from the underworld for Dave Grohl. The gifts emerge out of death, really. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. At least I think it is. I just wanted to share that with you. And then the true node, transiting true node and Pluto right there on his moon. You know, everything about him, he's getting hit on almost every single aspect of his chart, you know, with transitory aspects, Sun and Saturn. Again, transitory but powerful, Mercury, Moon opposing Pluto, Neptune, Uranus sitting on his Sun for a while, Pluto sitting on his Moon, Jupiter right at the top of his chart on his midheaven. You know, this is kind of mind-blowing stuff. And then the other thing too here is the inconjunct with Venus and the unknown opportunity, right? This is the unknown opportunity. He didn't know at that time. He didn't know at that time how Venus and what happened with his relationship with Cobain would open up this area of his 8th house. And Jupiter Uranus happens very quickly, very, very quickly. And he didn't wait around long. You know, he got on it. And all of a sudden we got the Foo Fighters. It's like, holy shit, these guys are really good. And he's had a very, very long, lucrative, and successful artistic and creative career. Isn't that right, Jasper? Isn't that right? Oh, Jasper's tripping on some spirits or something. He does that. Okay, let me go back into Chatlandia. See what you guys are rapping about. You have any thoughts on Dave Grohl? Let me see here. Love Nirvana. Yeah, Grohl. Yeah. Let's see what else. They've broken the internet. Not totally. Were you guys talking about? You talking about Bezos? I'm an electronic music lover. Anything except rock cannot resonate. She likes electronic music, Jasper. Courtney drove Cobain nuts. She was insane, totally insane. Let's see what else we have here. I think Courtney Love actually had a hand in Kurt Cobain's death. That is my opinion. It's not a fact. We got into that. Let's see. Bezos' wife filed for divorce. Yeah, that's right. Robert, let's see what we have here. Very interesting. Thank you. So interesting. The birth chart. Try it again. Highlight it for the person you sent it to. No comparison to Jim Morrison. The Doors. He was a Dave Grohl's joke. Bob, I thought it was funny. I told him one, but you might not think it was. My God, feeling full, so not tech. Thanks, ladies. That's every time. Laugh out loud. I'm a dude. Oh, that's good. That's really good. Drill grumps for Tenacious D and appears the devil in their videos. Yeah. There's a bit of a dark side to Dave Grohl too, right? I mean, all those guys have their dark side. You don't get to play in rock and roll unless you're dancing with the devil, and that's just the way it goes. There's a theory that she was his handler. Could be. I mean, Kurt grew up in some very unusual circumstances. Let's put it that way, in Aberdeen, Washington. Have you ever seen a full splash chart, like every sign or planet placement in? I need to know your opinion. There's a fellow who's been on this, well, he's a friend of mine, and I've done his chart, Eric Roth. I think Eric Roth has 11 houses out of 12. 11 houses out of 12. Hey, cheeky monkey. What's going on? 11 houses out of 12. That's about as splashy as it gets. Splash charts are very difficult. If you can handle a splash chart in your lifetime, yeah, you're good. You're good. Okay, I got one more chart to show you tonight. Thought you guys might enjoy the. And that was an intense kind of transformation for Grohl with the death of Cobain, at least astrologically speaking. Okay, so I got one more chart to show you here. And this is somebody you probably don't know about. Some of you might. I just thought I'd bring his chart up. This is Bob Marks's chart. And Bob Marks was an early astrologer on the internet. He was a chemist. And as soon as he found astrology, he really got into astrology. He stopped being a chemist. And I don't know if he's doing charts or readings anymore. But he, very early on, he had one of the sort of basic primer websites for astrology, and it's still there. I think it's bobmarks.com, and there's a lot of information there. So if you're somebody who's interested in astrology and you really want to get into some of the basics, Bob Marks does a really good job. And the reason I brought his chart up is for essentially sort of two reasons. Number one, you can see the relationship with astrology down here in the second house, because this is how you make money, right? The second house. And he has Uranus in the second house, which means if you have Uranus in the second house, you can't make money in a typical kind of way. You've got to make money in a unique, creative, outsider, your own special sauce. That's Uranus in the second house. At the very least, you should be using technology to some extent with Uranus here. If not, find your own path, your own way. Uranus rules astrology. So he was going to make his bank as an astrologer. And he was going to become quite good at it with Saturn there, right? And he was going to expand upon it with Jupiter there. I think Bob Marks is pretty successful. So he also was one of the first people to really dig into astrology on the internet. Hello, 11th house, Sun Mercury conjunction. And he's got the energy of a teacher with Mars in the 9th house in Sagittarius. And that's what you get out of his website. It's a very instructive, kind of low ego website. If you just want to go learn astrology, there's a lot there. So I wanted to just bring up his chart, because the key for me is Sun Mercury conjunction and his connection to the 11th house in the internet, right? And making his bread and butter, doing something unusual, unique, outside the box. In this case, it's astrology. And the grand trine that's going on that supports the Sun, Mercury, Uranus trine, right? Putting it all together. And then over here, this is probably working with clients and having clients. Anyway, I just wanted to bring his chart up. A lot of, he's not a very well-known astrologer, but I think his claim to fame is really how early he got on the internet. Because I was looking at his website back in 2005, 2006, 2004. It was 14 years ago. And getting on the internet back then was not as easy as it is now. Having blogs made it easier. Blogs really started to come on at around 2004. But pre-blog, you had to build a website and you had to code, and it wasn't as easy as it is now. So Bob had to, he had to put a little muscle into it, a little elbow grease. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring up his chart. It's not an earth-shattering chart, but you can see how somebody's path really gets carved out. And clearly, one of his big contributions is sharing the information and the knowledge of astrology over the World Wide Web. Okay, so done sharing that. All righty. Let's just peek back in here. What else we hear? What else here? It's not my theory. I've come across while doing research with Kurt Cobain. What else do we have? Could rule that anything to do with Kurt's death? Rule. I don't know, rule. Yes, my show with Freeman went live last night. You can see it. You can go there, freemantv.com. Let's see. All right. So I'm assuming Nicoletta, you have a splash chart. Is that right? Is that right? Bezos only chosen when he can't do anything. It's broken though, pal. You'll see. You'll see it crash in slow-mo worse. Yeah, I agree. I think Bezos is he's gonna become undone. He has to come undone. He's, it's in the chart. Will he bring it back together? We shall see. We shall see. Hopped over from listening from TV and happy to see you were live. Rachel, hey, thanks, Hunter. Thanks for coming over. We're about ready to wrap it up. All 12. Well, yeah. There you go. Yes, you are. You're a whole lot of Nicoletta there, aren't you? Whole lot of Nicoletta. Okay, so I'm gonna fly on out of here, boys and girls. I'll be back tomorrow. 15 minutes of flame, and you can find me over at robertphoenix.com. It's always a pleasure to be here with you on a Sunday night, albeit a little bit later than usual. And thank you for your patience and your loyalty. I love you guys. This is great. It's a big part of my life, and it's such an interesting experience being able to connect with every single one of you in real time, and for those of you not real time as well. All right? All right. I definitely want to know what happened before I tell you. I want to know what you saw chart-wise. Okay. I'm out of here. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to say what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix, and if you like this, subscribe, hit the bell, tell your friends. And I'll be back over on 15 Minutes of Flame tomorrow again. All right. Have a great Sunday night. Bye.